Today we are going on an adventure. We have to get this bag from Phoenix, Arizona, all the way up to Boulder. 892 miles. I'll tell you guys what's in this bag once we make it up to Boulder. Let's get this bag and luggage on the bike and hit the road. Well, this isn't gonna work, but I do think I know what will. This should do it. Oh no, what did he do? Let's see how well all of this fits on this touring platform bike from Indian.
Let's roll. We've got the heated gear ready to go. We might hit somewhere in the low 50s. We'll have some cooler weather.
Oh, this is snow.
887 miles. Arrival, 8 o'clock tonight, 12 and a half hours.
Can't do that! No roll!
I've got the strap down pretty good. I actually made a last minute change here and added this bag because our secret load
He said,
load
oh yeah.
was just too far out a little bit. 12 and a half hours of being that pushed up on the tank was going to be brutal. This is much, much better. Let's get moving. All right, so it is, 6:30 in the morning. Now this is a 2023 Indian Pursuit Limited, and this bike was loaned to me by India Motorcycles. I specifically requested this bike just because if I were to buy a new bike, this would be the bike that I would buy, absolutely, undoubtedly. So let's get after some miles here.
Fought a probably 30 mile an hour crosswind. Hop back on the bike and keep on moving. It's a long ride today. How many rooms for tonight? How much for a room? Well, we didn't make it. We are unfortunately bedded down now in Las Vegas, New Mexico. Did not even know this was a thing. The bike sitting right outside because
It's sort of an unofficial welcome to southern Colorado. So through about 9-10 o'clock, tornado watches and severe thunderstorm watches stay in effect.
a boatload of lightning, brutal winds, and tornado warnings in Colorado Springs, which is kind of my next step. Also, I think they said 3-inch hail. A lot of battling wind, a lot of just rough riding today. We're gonna call it a night. Hopefully be able to get on the road early in the morning. As I'm loading up here and getting ready to hit the road, MyMedic, they actually have this motorcycle kit. Very happy I had this on the bike last night. My head was pounding. Had some ibuprofen in here. Very happy to have MyMedic as a affiliate here on the channel. Highly recommend you guys take a look at pre-made medical kits from MyMedic. Again, link in the description down below.
Is it a Harley?
It's an Indian. Well, this is snow.
Well, this adds a layer of complexity to the trip. It's snowing. Problem with snow is that this is a windshield or a windscreen, but not a heated windscreen. Heated grips, heated seats, heated gear, I'm good to go. But once the snow starts accumulating in front of the bike, well, then I can't see. Same on the visor, and that's a problem. So luckily with a liquid cooled bike, I can sit here and idle it for a time being and run the heated seats, heated gear. It's chilly out here and looks like the snow is starting to accumulate. It's only 42 degrees. I'm surprised it's sticking, but it is. So this is where we sit for now. Only an hour out too. Bummer. The moment has arrived. This is my brother Steve. This is the secret package. I traveled 800 miles through 40-mile-an-hour winds, snow. Oh, they're might have got a little wet.
Ooh. I forgot about this one. This one catches my eye right away. The Ichiro 2001 Rookie of the Year.
How old were you when you bought these?
This is like early high school.
You know what? I see a lot of opportunity for premium bobblehead space on the mantle over here.
I'm pretty sure we've been saving that space for the bobbleheads.
We're gonna need these to go back home.
Those are not going back on the motorcycle.
These are gonna need to go back
Good
with
spot
you.
in the basement for these.
Marty Braun,
Oh, Drew Bledsoe. Oh, Michael Vick.
Corey Lavulo, Michael Vick. That one's been volatile, I think, in terms of probably its value. Another 2001 Rookie of the Year, Albert Pujols.
This has to be worth like tens of dollars.
I am never going to financially recover from this.
That one seemed important to me because it was
Yeah,
it was
the
large.
Kevin Garnett. Yeah, this is a numbered one, so this one could hold some value. You can't have too many Drew Bledsoes.
Yeah, the Jake Lamb
Lamb
too
with the
seemed like
lamb.
that might be
Oh yeah.
This trip was booked a long time ago. And my brother, when he left Phoenix several years back, he left this box of bobbleheads. When I told him I was going to ride the bike up to Boulder, he asked me, how many bobbleheads can you get on there, just as a joke. And of course, I will get those bobbleheads to Boulder. That became my mission. Now, with that, I ended up having to buy a giant bag to put on the back of the bike. I tried to put it in the saddlebags, quickly realized that I needed also clothes. I loaded them up in that bag, put them on the back, and I'm happy that I did, because what it did was it helped simulate a passenger or a larger mass behind me in some very, very windy situations. So let's talk about this bike. I've had a chance over the last 2 weeks to put just under 2,000 miles on this. It was 1,829 miles to be exact. I'm here in the garage because that trip ended up being just brutal weather pretty much the entire 1,820 something-ish miles. But ultimately the bike handled it very, very well. That was kind of my first experience on this bike. Was, getting out of Phoenix was pretty uneventful. As soon as I got outside of Tonto National Forest heading east towards Albuquerque, the winds were obnoxious. They were pushing 30 miles an hour, 45 mile an hour gusts, I believe, at one point. And it was a crosswind coming from the south the entire way. So that is a miserable way to ride. There were a bunch of times that I was having to really lean in, and it got to be a little bit uncomfortable at some points, but the bike handled it very well. I was never scared, and that's the most important thing when you're riding, is to ride confidently, and the motorcycle you're on makes a huge difference with that. Now, in terms of heat on the leg, I have heard people complain that the right side does get a little bit warmer. I notice it at slow speeds. Yes, you have the exhaust coming down the side of the bike with a radiator on the front, so if you're going slower speeds, you don't have as much air coming over this side of the bike when you're riding. But I didn't notice that to be a problem, and I'm here in Arizona. I was riding 100-degree days. At speed, never an issue whatsoever. You have these lowers here that you can actually open and let air flow through. Comes over your leg real nice. Now, to speak to the liquid-cooled platform, let me tell you how awesome this is. Not just from a position of power and feel and all that stuff. I mean, this thing has a boatload of torque. It feels absolutely amazing going down the highway. You can get this thing up to speed pretty quick. You can watch my last video, see how that goes. If you were to go through like a really hard 1-2 shift, you could actually get that front end to want to pop up a little bit. It's nuts. So great power, great brakes, amazing handling. It's truly a fantastic platform. What I did not anticipate, however, was that when I rode up into some snow in Colorado, totally unplanned, I ended up parking underneath an overpass. I was soaking wet. I was freezing. I was soaked at that point. Like after you've ridden through rain for a few hours, rain gear is kind of a joke. Everything's kind of wet, you're damp. Being able to leave the bike running, you really can't do that on a Harley. Without air flowing over a Harley Davidson's motor, it's gonna start building up a ton of heat. Not good for the motor. With this thing being liquid cooled, I was able to actually just plug in, turn my gear on, so I went from shivering uncontrollably to being able to introduce heat into that scenario. And it was a lifesaver. I mean, arguably it could be an actual lifesaver if you really were stranded to be able to keep your heated gear going until you were able to get somebody to come and pick you up. I absolutely loved being able to just feel a little more comfortable in that very uncomfortable situation of being underneath an overpass somewhere in the middle of Colorado without walking distance to anything that could have really helped me out. With this bike, you do have a ton of wind protection. You can put the windscreen up. It helps protect, rain kind of goes right over top of your helmet. And there was a lot of times where I was riding where I was just kind of sticking my head out to clear off any rain that actually did hit the helmet and clear off the visor. It worked out fairly well. However, you still get wet. At the end of the day, the way these bikes, the Indians, are built. Now, I'm not talking about the Softail line because the 2018 Softails, amazing. Absolutely, 2018 plus Softail platform is great. I'm talking about touring bikes. The touring bikes from Indian, the weight is worn way lower. So when you are riding a 900-pound motorcycle, you don't want that weight up here. You want that weight down here. With Indians, feels very much like that. The touring pack does add a little bit more weight up back on the rear end, but ultimately, Indians engineering weight is slung down lower. You also have the monoshock, which is insanely good. Every bump I hit, there were some rough roads, just feels so plush. And with this one, it's actually got the electric adjustable suspension, so you can dial it into your weight, your luggage weight, all of that stuff, really get this thing where you need it to be. Fantastic. But again, suspension-wise, Indian crushes Harley Davidson. As of today, the touring bikes from Harley cannot hold a candle to Indian Motorcycles touring bikes. It's just that simple. This Indian Pursuit, I do not, aside from maybe a seat, but I don't think I would even do the seat. It's like one of those things where I'm like, maybe. The bars, I think I would pull the bars back slightly, but aside from that, I don't see anything that I would want to do to the Pursuit. It's that good off the factory floor. You're not buying shocks. You're not going to Olin's. You've got the inverted forks up front. You've got so much more with this Indian, and your money goes that much further. What I find really compelling as the Indian argument as well is there's a lot of people that eventually ditch their Harley Davidsons, go to a Goldwing because they want creature comforts. Indian is now a stopgap to that. Not only is it a stopgap, I would actually say I've ridden the Goldwings. I prefer the Pursuit over a Goldwing. Stylistically, American V-twin, everything in my opinion leans to the Indian over a Goldwing. So now people that are kind of tired of Harley Davidson and a lot of the antics have a viable option in Indian. And I think it's an absolutely awesome time to be in the market for an American V-twin because you have fantastic options like you never had before, and it can only benefit us, the consumer. That is my take on the Indian Pursuit, guys. This thing was an absolute pleasure to put those kinds of miles on. That's it, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. If this is your first time tuning in, please hit that subscribe button down below. Remember, likes go a long way to help support the channel. I'll see you guys next time.